A very good morning to Dr. Maryam. Today our groups will present our research proposal titled Anthropometric and Body Composition as a Predictor for Swimming Performance Among Autistic Children. Our group members are myself, Alexandria, Amanda Luan, Lau Jia Yi, and Wong Jheng. So let's start off with the background. Swimming is a well-known sport around the globe and is highly recognized in the global sports arena. Children with autistic spectrum disorder, known as ASD, are also widely involved in the sport, be it competitive or not. Anthropometric measurements include height, weight, hand length, and arm span, and it's a basic measurement for swimmers alongside body composition measurements such as body mass index, bone mass, and fat percentage. And this helps determine swimming performance of the athlete and further establish ways to improve their performance. Children who swim at mostly school levels are at a disadvantage due to the lack of research in this area. Moving on to our literature review, which we obtained from several past researchers. Actual properties, anthropometric attributes, and a portion of the strength boundaries of swimmers were recognized, and the connections between these boundaries and swimming execution were examined. This was from a research conducted in the year 2000. Next, in 2013, Martin Matilas said that other than different elements, some physical boundaries like somatotype segments, weight and body tallness are factors that impact competition success. A research by Damsgaard in 2001 exhibited that investment in sports contests from a youthful age is straightforwardly identified with the body synthesis and body extents of every person. And lastly, in 2005, Gladys said that anthropometric characteristics have been indicated as one of the most important factors allowing swimmers to achieve high levels of performance throughout their career from childhood to adulthood. The research gaps that we found is there is very little research of anthropometric measurements and body composition in relation to swimming performance of autistic children. And the purpose of our study is to determine the relationship between anthropometric measures as a performance predictor and swim performance among autistic children, and to determine the relationship between body composition as a performance predictor and swim performance among autistic children. Moving on to the problem statement. The main problem faced is the lack of evidence and research between the relationship of anthropometric measurements, body composition, and swimming performance of autistic children. This puts autistic children at a disadvantage in reaching their full potential in swimming that causes their skill development to be limited or stagnant. I will now pass it to my group member Amanda to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Alex. Now, I will present the research hypothesis of our study. There are 4 research hypotheses in our study. Firstly, there will be no significant correlation between the anthropometric measurements of autistic children and swimming performance in 50-meter freestyle. Second hypothesis is that there will be no significant correlation between the anthropometric measurements of autistic children and swimming performance in 50-meter breaststroke. The third hypothesis is that there will be no significant correlation between the body composition of autistic children and swimming performance in 50-meter freestyle. And lastly, our research hypothesis is that there will be no significant correlation between the body composition of autistic children and swimming performance in 50-meter breaststroke. Next, I will present on the significance of our study. Firstly, we believe the findings of our study will help coaches to select autistic children that has the potential to have great swim capabilities based on their anthropometric and body composition measurements. Second, we believe that our study could be a breakthrough to future coaching interventions that can be developed to cater to suit autistic children in communication and learning through swimming. Thirdly, the relationship of anthropometric measures and body composition will be acknowledged by swim coaches of special population, athletes, parents, and people who are related in this field in order to help the autistic population improve their quality of life. Moving on, these are the possible limitations and delimitations of our study. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, one of the major limitations towards this study will be the difficulty in recruitment of participants, as parents might disagree to their children being exposed to the risk of contracting the virus. Besides, with the inconsistent number of COVID-19 cases daily, as well as working with autistic children, the study will be at risk of having high dropout rates towards the end of the study. That will cause data collection to be delayed. Lastly, dealing with subjects that has autism would need multiple rescheduling as there would be expected meltdowns and attention span issues during test day. On the other hand, the delimitation of this study might be that the subjects will be delimited to 30 autistic children of both genders. The subjects will be within the age range of 7 to 12 years old. Besides, subjects will be autistic children who has prior experience in swimming and have been practicing for at least 5 to 6 hours per week over the last 2 years. Now I will pass to my group member, Jheng to continue.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, the targeted participants for this study are 30 children with autism disorder spectrum (ASD) who are between 7 to 12 years old. Subjects must have swimming experience of at least 2 years and have been practicing for at least 5 to 6 hours per week. The participants will be required to be assessed by psychiatrists in hospitals to determine if they are categorized under high functioning on autism disorder spectrum and that they meet the criteria of the American Psychiatric Association Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder. The recruitment of participants will be accepted if they meet the following criteria, which are being in the age between 7 to 12 years old, has no history and not undergoing medical intervention, able to follow instruction, as well as has full parental commitment to grant participants without altering current therapy or exercise for child with autism. The recruitment is planned to be done via the distribution of brochures, direct content, email announcements, and word of mouth in several strategic locations, such as local rehabilitation centers and local autism support groups. Next, going into the equipments used during the study, note that all anthropometric measures will be assessed based on the international standards for anthropometric assessment. The body weight and height will be measured using a Seika scale with precision of 0.1 kg and a Seika stadiometer of the nearest 0.001 meter respectively. Arm length will be measured in centimeters using the Martin Anthropometer 100, and the arm span will be determined by measuring the participants using a measuring tape placed against a wall with accuracy of 0.001 meter. As for body composition, body mass index is calculated using the standard formula, which is body weight divided by height squared. As for body fat percentage and fat-free mass, it will be measured in percentage and kilograms respectively by using the dual energy X-ray absorptiometry, also known as DEXA. Going into the evaluation of swimming performance, the timing of both 50-meter freestyle swimming and 50-meter breaststroke swimming will be recorded using the Finis 3x100-meter stopwatch, whereas each participant's swim will be filmed using a Sony camcorder and analyzed using the Kinovia software version 0.8.15. The swimming speed in meters per second can be calculated by dividing the length of the swim, which is 50 meters, by the duration of the swim in seconds. And lastly, the stroke rate will be calculated by dividing the number of strokes performed counting both arms during the entire swim by the duration of the swim. Now, I will pass the presentation to Jia Yi.
Thanks, Jheng. Now, I will present the data collection procedure. The evaluation section will be carried out across 2 days to avoid fatigue at 2 locations, in the swimming pool and sports science lab, located in the State Sports Council. Before the evaluation section, all the participants and parents will be notified about the procedures and measurements condition. There will be 2 qualified swimming coaches and 4 research assistants during the evaluation, while the parents are allowed to spectate without disturbing the evaluation section. The evaluation of swimming performance will be done on the first day. It is divided into 2 sections, 50-meter freestyle in the morning and 50-meter breaststroke swim in the later afternoon. Participants are required to warm up before the race starts, as the warm-up can affect the readiness on their performances later. It will be led by the qualified coaches, whereas the researcher will make sure all the participants have done the warm-up sufficiently before proceeding to the evaluation swim by observing and counting their laps and warm-up. Timing of both 50-meter freeze and 50-meter breaststroke swim will be recorded, whereas the speed of swimming and stroke rate will be analyzed and calculated according to the respective swimming time of each participant. The swim will be filmed and analyzed. On the second day, the participants will be evaluated in terms of anthropometric measurements and body composition measurements, with a 5 minutes of rest interval between both categories of measurements. All the measurements except swimming performance will be taken 3 times, and the average score will be the final score, and participants are required to dress minimally and be barefooted to ensure the accuracy of measurement. The BMI of each participant is calculated using the standard formula, which include body weight and height. For the bone mass, a qualified radiologist will be conducting the measurements, where the participants need to stand barefoot on the foot plate and grasp both hand electrodes with no additional skill required, which takes only 2 minutes. All the data will be recorded in the participants' data collection sheet. Moving on into possible data analysis, the statistical software SPSS will be used to analyze the data. The mean, standard deviation, and differences were calculated using the standardized statistical calculation. The partial correlation RP will be determined between the body composition and anthropometry measurements and swimming performance by using Pearson's correlation analysis for normal data, whereas Spearman's correlation analysis will be used for non-normal data. The test of normality will be verified by using the Shapiro-Wilk test, parameter t-test, and non-parametric Mann-Whitney test with n equals to 30 will be used to compare the means. Multivariate regression analysis will be used as a multi-dimensional prediction system to define the impact of independent variable to the dependent variable. And lastly, the level of statistical significance is set as 95% with probability values of p is lesser than 0.05. That's all for our group presentation. Thank you.